You're with 702 and CapeTalk. This is Early Breakfast.
The Western Cape and Cape Town is a construction site. Hundreds of contractors, unfortunately, have been found to be non-compliant. The construction industry facing growing scrutiny here in the Western Cape over regulatory non-compliance, with 891 contractors found to be non-compliant since the beginning of this year. Joining me on the line is the chairperson of the Western Cape Property Development Forum, that's Deon van Zyl. Deon, this is not an article you want to be reading on a Thursday morning, is it? Good morning.
Good morning, Africa, and to your listeners. No, absolutely not. It's, I think one's got to acknowledge that there are rules and that there are rules for a purpose. And when a construction industry doesn't abide by the rules, then one does get concerned. But there is something else that we need to just think about, and that is the obvious question: are there not too many rules? The non-compliance. Are they fundamental issues? Are they box-ticking issues? And I think the one thing that I would like to stress is, yes, the Cape is a construction site, but we should be having more contractors. And the reality is we are running out of contracting capacity. And if the rules and the regulations make it difficult to get into the industry, that's a parallel problem that we've also got to address.
But then go about a process to identify where the rules are cumbersome and expect far too much of contractors, look for avenues to address those, see amendments and changes made to those rules, and then apply them, right? As opposed to going, I don't like these rules, I'm just going to continue doing what I want to do.
No, you're absolutely right, Africa. I think the reality is construction is an incredibly dangerous industry. Health and safety on site is not negotiable, and we would encourage all contractors to, the best of their ability, to comply with these rules. The challenge is, of course, also the number of different entities with which one needs to engage with on streamlining rules. And then in parallel to that, of course, is training new capacity, to be able to work in the industry. So I think from the outset, there is no justification, but it does raise the concern that we need to make sure that the rules are aligned. And I think there are a number of organizations, people like the Master Builders Association, the various civil contracting organizations that do engage government on a regular basis. And I'm actually looking forward to understand exactly what this compliance issue is. As I said at the outset, are they fundamental issues or are they box-ticking issues that are not being addressed?
Well, some of the 543 conventions highlighted by the department include occupational health and safety contraventions, 85 breaches of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, 178 involving the Unemployment Insurance Fund, 85 related to the Compensation Fund. In some cases, there were 79 undocumented foreign nationals working on a project on Long Street here in the CBD, which we know is not permissible in any shape or form.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the last one, the foreigners being on construction sites. I think over years, and as you know, we have been rather lax in our country in making sure that our borders are controlled. But there's also a market reality, and that is there's been a void of technical skills, artisanal skills in our industry. And unfortunately, the market being what the market is, supply and demand, if there is undersupply locally, and there are people from outside of our borders that do have those skills, they have tended to come to South Africa. That suited us for a number of years, all the way back to 2010. Now we have a challenge, and that is we've realized that it's important to control our borders, and that should be supported. But what we haven't done, we haven't replaced that capacity. And I think this is one of our big concerns, that we need to be training artisanal skills. The Department of Higher Education has responsibility with CETA. The NHBRC has a responsibility in its mandate to train people, and we are not seeing people being trained. And a number of people that I've spoken to indicate that they've lost core skills. Granted, many of those skills were not here legally, but we need to work very hard to replace them. On the issue of health and safety, as I said from the outset, it's a dangerous industry. There is absolutely no excuse for construction sites not being safe, not being managed. And in our case, we use the health and safety regulations, and I would encourage all contractors to look at that. The issue of compensation really concerns me. Again, I cannot on the one hand advocate for skills and then not look after those skills either. So again, that is inexcusable. But you do start to realize the number of compliance components that need to be addressed. And perhaps it's time to start talking about a single construction piece of legislation that deals with all of these factors under one umbrella. I am worried that it's incredibly fragmented.
Deon, thank you very much indeed. Deon van Zyl, Chairperson of the Western Cape Property Development Forum. I fully would support the idea of one code that all construction sector adheres to, as opposed to, as Deon highlights, very many, often very different compliance requirements from the sector. But the report is disturbing nonetheless.